Saddler's clams, saddler's clams. Which one should I get? Which one is better? Now, ever since I came out with a post, it was a short version of a course that I just came out with recently. Details make perfection, clam finishing. And in that video I was finishing these clams. These are English style clams. These are from Abbey, England. And a lot of people are asking me, what's the difference between the English style and the French style, and which ones are best for me? So I thought I would do a quick video just highlighting the main differences between them, and then hopefully you're a little bit more educated on which style might be best for you. Now, for some purposes, stitching pony or a table clamp comes in very handy, but sometimes on a bigger project where you need a larger throat for, say, bags, for example, or any big or bulky items, you need the flexibility of a clam, and it does come in handy. Now, there are two main varieties. There's the French style and the English style. Now, these are French style clams. These are, well, they're not style clams, they're French clams. They're from France, and these are made by Jerome David. You can order them from him directly, or if you're in the US, you can buy them from Rocky Mountain Leather Supply. But the French style, as you can see, has a hinged jaw, okay? And there's no tension on the jaw itself. It's not trying to close itself all the time. So you have the hinge. So you have the short side of the hinge and the long side of the hinge, which is just one long plank of wood essentially. So when I want to stitch, I have to place the short side against my thigh. Ideally prop your leg up so your thigh is parallel to the floor. So the short side against my thigh, place the work that I want to stitch in between the jaws, and I use my right leg, okay, so the weight of my right leg, to clamp down the piece that I'm working on. So if I open that up and relax my leg, it just slams shut. If I relax my leg, for example, and open it, it doesn't really do anything, okay? So it does require tension from you in order to stitch, okay? So that's the French style. Now, on the French style, you have to stitch on an angle, obviously, to keep that tension. So you will find that as you're stitching, that you have to feel your way through the stitch process. So when you push the awl blade through, you have to feel for it with the needle and then chase the needle through. So you don't actually see the back of your stitching until you've finished stitching your work, unless you stop halfway through and just double check. But the good thing about that is, after a while, you get used to it and your stitching actually improves. So initially, when you first try this, your stitching is 10 times, 20 times worse, okay? It's terrible. Then you get as good as you were before with a stitching pony, and then in my personal opinion, on what I experience, you actually get better because your body is staying still, you're in a consistent position, and you'll get very used to how high to lift your elbow, keeping your wrist nice and straight, how high to lift your elbow so that the awl blade penetrates at the exact same angle every single time, and your stitching consistency can actually improve. You can alternatively use a pricking iron or stitching chisel and punch all the way through your leather, and then after a while, it takes a bit of practice, you will be able to find the hole with your left needle as you're stitching through, if you want to do it that way. So that's the French style of clams. Now the English style, if I bring it over here, similar in size, but you can see there's a lot of difference in the room that you have on the inside. But the main difference is there's no hinge, okay? So you just have the tension from the wood itself, and it wants to stay shut. If I prise it apart and let go, it wants to shut, okay? So you have tension. You have a tensioner here, so you can add or reduce tension depending on how you like it or what kind of work that you're working on. And again, you can stitch in the French style on a 45-degree angle, but you don't have to use the weight of your leg. You could just hold it there because, of course, it has that tension already. If you need more tension, you can use your leg. The benefit is sometimes when you're stitching in a very thick piece of leather and you want to make sure that the awl is penetrating level as you go through, you want to see the rear side of the stitches, and it can come in handy. This is where the English style really helps out. Another example is if say you're stitching in a bag, for example, and you have a large bag panel and you're stitching it to the bag base. There's a lot of area where you can't actually see what you're doing, and you might find it difficult to feel your way through because you can't even see your arm because there's so much leather in the way. So what you can do, using a stool ideally, is go a little bit higher and just place it between your legs, and now you can easily see both sides if you're stitching in something that's a little bit awkward. So anything where you really need to see both sides, or it comes in handy, these are great. But they can also work in this way, which is my preferred method for stitching on an angle. Now, the downside is, in order to put something in between the jaws, you can't just open it up, place whatever you want inside, and close it. You have to physically use your hand. So you can go inside and make a fist, or you can just open your hand up inside, whatever technique that you want to do, but you can't hold both sides to prise it apart because you don't have a third hand to put anything inside it. So it can be a bit cumbersome sometimes to put anything large inside there. And on the French style, like in my video I did on box stitching, you can place something quite large in there without any issues at all. On here, you can only really go so wide, and there's a hell of a lot of tension when it goes that wide as well. You can adjust it, but I have this adjusted on minimum. So anything that's very big or bulky, I would use the French style. Now you're a little bit more educated on the differences between the two and the pros and cons between them. Which do I think is better? I don't think there's one better than the other. I think they are handy to have so that I can choose, depending on what project I have, what's going to work best for me. If I had to choose one, it would be the French style, because it's just there's more things that you can do with it, but I prefer to stitch with the English style because I can relax a little bit more, I can pick a different position that's more comfortable, and I don't have to worry about making sure that there's always tension on whatever I'm stitching so it doesn't move about. So for me, I find these more of a joy to use, but if I had to choose one style, it will be the French style. For a beginner, I would say probably the English style, because it gives you the chance to stitch upright so you can visually see what you're doing a little bit better. There is a bit more of a learning curve on the French style. But those are the main differences between the two, and if you are interested in buying one of these are from Abbey, England, and as of right now you need to make a trade account, which isn't too difficult. But these are about £65, and I think these are about, I think it's 68 euros or something like that, about 70 something pounds. So a little bit more expensive on these, but neither of them anywhere near Blanchard's offering. So those are the main differences between the two. If you are interested in learning how to finish one of these, I have a course out at the moment, Details Make Perfection Clam Finishing, which is in the collection of videos, 20 as of right now, 20 videos in the courses. So check out the paid plans. If you're not a subscriber already to the Leathercraft Masterclass videos, go and check them out. If you have any questions about these clams or anything that I haven't covered that you want me to go over, comment below and I will get back to you. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.